Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Daniel, and for a long time, I thought I had a solid marriage, not perfect, but solid. My wife, Clara, and I had been together for years. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but we always found a way to work through things. At least, that's what I believed. But looking back now, I realized that while I was holding on to the idea of our marriage, Clara had already checked out. It didn't happen all at once. At first, it was little things. She stopped doing the little things she used to do. People go through stress, mood shift, and life gets overwhelming. I get that, but this wasn't just stress. This was different. People don't wake up one morning and start treating their spouse like a burden. Changes like that don't just happen without a reason, and I was determined to find out what that reason was. She started coming home late, and every time I asked where she had been, her answers were vague, uninterested. Just out, she'd say, barely looking up from her phone. When I pushed a little, just a simple out where, she'd roll her eyes or sigh like I was bothering her. That was new. Clara never used to be this dismissive. The woman I married used to tell me everything, sometimes in excruciating detail. Now, I was lucky if I got more than a one-word answer. Then came the phone. It was always with her. If she was in the living room, it was in her hand. If she got up to grab a glass of water, the phone went with her. Late at night, I'd see the glow of the screen. I'd ask, "Who are you texting?" And she'd say, "Just a friend." When I asked which friend, she'd snap, "Why do you care?" One night, as we lay in bed, I decided I couldn't ignore it anymore. I turned to her and asked, "Clara, what's wrong? Why have you been acting this way?" She didn't even hesitate. She just exhaled sharply and said, "If I had something to say, I'd say it. Let me sleep, please." That hurt. The confirmation of my fears came a few days later, a call from a friend. He was direct when we began speaking. "Hey, I don't want to be that guy, but I think you should look into Clara. I saw her with a man, and they don't look like just friends." I was speechless. My first reaction was denial. No, not Clara, not my wife. There had to be some explanation. But then I thought about the way she'd been acting, the distance, the secrecy, the late nights, the locked phone, the attitude shift. And I realized something terrifying. This wasn't coming out of nowhere. I wanted to believe my friend was wrong, but I couldn't. Because deep down, I already knew he wasn't. I knew something was off with Clara, but knowing it and proving it were two different things. I needed hard evidence, something undeniable, something she couldn't talk her way out of. And for that, I had to start with her phone. Now, Clara had always been protective of her phone, but lately, it had gone from normal caution to full-blown paranoia. She kept it on her at all times, whether she was in the kitchen, the bathroom, or even just stepping outside for a minute. She never left it unattended. And when she was using it, she angled the screen away from me. That alone was suspicious, but I needed more than just a gut feeling. One night, I finally got a small window of opportunity. She had left her phone on the couch while stepping into the bathroom. My heart pounded as I reached for it. This was my chance. I swiped up to unlock it, but then, dead end. The password had been changed. I tried the old one just in case, but it was no good. My stomach tightened. Clara and I had never hidden our passwords from each other before. This wasn't just a coincidence. That was the moment I knew she was hiding something, and whatever it was, she didn't want me to see it. I put the phone back exactly where it was and sat there. If Clara was cheating, she couldn't erase every footprint. People slip up when they get comfortable. They get sloppy, and that's when they get caught. If I couldn't get to her phone, I had to take a different approach. I needed to see it with my own eyes. A few days later, I finally got my chance. Clara told me she was going out to grab something real quick, no extra details, no mention of who she was going with, just vague enough to make my instincts flare up. So I decided to follow her. I waited a few minutes after she left, then grabbed my car keys and drove out, making sure to stay far enough behind that she wouldn't notice. I tailed her through a few streets until she pulled up in front of an unfamiliar house. She got out of the car and walked straight to the door, knocking with the confidence of someone who had done this before. The door opened, and there he was, some guy the first had never seen before. As if I knew, I had my phone in hand to take photos of everything. The guy didn't look surprised to see her. In fact, he smiled, stepping aside so she could walk in. The door shut behind them, and just like that, my wife was inside another man's home. I watched, took a few pictures on my phone because I knew I'd need them later. I didn't go in. I didn't call her. I didn't make a scene. I just sat there for a few more minutes, staring at the house, at the reality of my marriage falling apart right in front of me. Then, without a word, I started my car and drove home. She came back later that night, acting completely normal. That was the part that got to me the most. I decided I had waited long enough. I wasn't going to let this drag on any longer. I called her into the living room and told her to sit down. She sighed, clearly annoyed, but she sat anyway, arms crossed, eyes fixed on me like she had better things to do. I took a deep breath, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "I want you to end whatever's going on, or we're done." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I just stated it as a fact. She frowned, shaking her head. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice flat. "There's nothing going on." I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and turned the screen toward her. There they were. Clear pictures of her walking into his house, laughing with him. I watched her face as she looked at them. For a second, just a split second, she looked caught. Then, just as quickly, her expression changed. The guilt disappeared, replaced by something else. Anger. "You followed me? That's crazy," she snapped, her voice rising. "You don't trust me, so now you're stalking me? That's sick, Daniel." I felt something inside me go cold. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't even surprised. Instead of taking responsibility, she was flipping it back on me, trying to make me the bad guy for finding out. I exhaled slowly, nodding to myself. "Okay," I said, standing up. "Got it." I didn't argue. There was no point. She had already made her choice. The next week was a blur of silence. We still lived under the same roof, but it felt like we were strangers. No small talk, no fake smiles, just two people existing in the same space, waiting for something to happen. She didn't try to explain herself. She didn't try to fix anything. And I already knew she wasn't going to stop seeing him. I wasn't going to beg her to stay loyal. That wasn't love, that was desperation. And I wasn't desperate, so while she carried on pretending nothing had changed, I made a quiet trip to my lawyer's office and started the process. If she wanted to be with him so badly, she could have him. But she wasn't going to take me down with her. One morning, as I got ready for work, Clara unexpectedly came to meet me. I was halfway through buttoning my shirt when Clara spoke. Her voice was calm. "I'm making you dinner tonight." I froze for just a second, my fingers pausing over the last button. It took a moment for her words to fully register. Clara hadn't cooked for me in months, not since all this started. Lately, she barely even acknowledged my presence unless it was to be cold or dismissive. And now, out of nowhere, she wanted to make dinner? I turned to look at her. She was standing near the dresser, scrolling through her phone. And that's what made it suspicious. I didn't respond right away. I wanted to see if she'd follow up, maybe offer some kind of explanation. But she didn't. "All right," I finally said, keeping my tone neutral. If this was a game, I wasn't about to show my hand first. As I left for work, my mind wouldn't let it go. Was this an attempt to smooth things over? Maybe she felt guilty and wanted to make some kind of peace offering. Or was she setting the stage for something else, a confession, an excuse, a final act of control before pulling the rug out from under me? I wasn't about to sit around and wait to find out. What Clara didn't know was that I'd already taken steps to free myself from this marriage. The divorce papers were prepared, sitting neatly in a folder, waiting for the right moment. And more than that, I had something she wouldn't see coming. While she had been sneaking around with her secret lover, I had been getting close to someone too, her best friend. It started as casual conversations, little moments of shared frustration about Clara's behavior. But over time, it became something more. She knew the woman Clara had become, and she had no illusions about who she really was. So I decided, if tonight's dinner was some kind of mind game, if she still had her affair going on, I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't beg, I wouldn't get angry, I would simply end this marriage on my terms. I came home that evening with a feeling I couldn't quite describe. Clara was in the kitchen, and the smell of home-cooked food filled the air, something I hadn't experienced in a long time. If this were a few months ago, I might have been excited, maybe even hopeful that she was trying to fix things. But I knew better now. Whatever this dinner was, it wasn't a peace offering. I sat down at the table, watching her as she moved gracefully, setting the plates, pouring the wine, and smiling. We ate mostly in silence. She didn't ask about my day, and I didn't ask about hers. The only sound was the clinking of silverware against porcelain, the occasional sip of wine, and the tension sitting between us like a third guest at the table. Halfway through the meal, I put my fork down and looked at her. She was too calm, too composed. a woman who had already made up her mind. I leaned back slightly and asked, "So, have you ended your affair?" She didn't even flinch, she just smirked and leaned back in her chair, like she had been waiting for this moment. Then she said it. "I'm leaving you." I exhaled slowly, more out of amusement than anything else. There was a time when those words would have broken me, when I would have begged her to stay, to reconsider. But now they felt like an overdue ending to a story I should have closed a long time ago. I smiled, a genuine smile. Then I got up from my seat, walked into the bedroom, and came back with a stack of neatly arranged papers. I placed them on the table in front of her and slid them across. "Perfect," I said, my voice steady, controlled. I already prepared the paperwork. "Sign them." For the first time that evening, her confidence wavered. She hadn't expected this. She stared at the papers, then at me, searching for some kind of reaction she could use against me. But there was nothing, just calm. And then, ding dong. Her head snapped toward the door. She wasn't expecting anyone. I, on the other hand, had been waiting for this moment all night. I pushed my chair back, took my time walking to the door, and pulled it open. And there she was, standing in the doorway, looking effortlessly beautiful, Clara's best friend. The woman Clara had trusted with all her secrets. The woman I had been getting closer to ever since I realized my marriage was already dead. I stepped aside and gestured toward her. "Meet my new girlfriend." The look on Clara's face was priceless. It was beyond shock. It was betrayal, disbelief, maybe even regret. She had forgotten that when you play games, you better be prepared to lose. "I won't lie to you." Clara did not take it well when she realized I had beaten her to it. She snapped. It was like watching someone go from calm to completely unhinged in a matter of seconds. She went from stunned silence to yelling, asking me if I had lost my mind, calling me every name she could think of. But I didn't argue. I didn't need to. My job was done. The papers were on the table, and she had a decision to make. Sign them or let the court handle the rest. At first, she acted like she wouldn't play dirty. She pretended she was okay with it, that she just wanted to move on. But I knew her too well. The moment reality hit her, she became the woman I knew she could be when things didn't go her way, spiteful, vengeful, ready to destroy everything in her path. It wasn't about the marriage anymore. It was about making me suffer. And she did everything in her power to try. She went to court and played the victim. She told them I had been controlling, manipulative, and even abusive. She claimed she had felt trapped in the marriage, that I had isolated her from friends, made her feel worthless, and emotionally tormented her. She even threw in a few fake stories, things that never happened, just to make me look like the villain. And the worst part? Some people believed her. That's the thing about lies. If someone says them with enough confidence, they start to sound like the truth. But I wasn't about to let her rewrite history. When my turn came, I let the evidence speak for itself. I had photos of her sneaking into her lover's house. I had text messages that made it painfully clear that this wasn't just some innocent friendship. And then there was the financial part, bank statements that proved she had been using money from our joint account to fund her affair. My lawyer made sure to highlight every single detail, every withdrawal, every expense that linked back to her affair. But the real hit came when we talked about the emotional toll. I had spent months in that marriage feeling like I was going crazy, second-guessing myself, wondering if I was the problem. My lawyer argued that the mental strain she had put me through, the lies, the gaslighting, the betrayal, had taken a serious toll on my well-being. And the court listened. When the final ruling came, I could see the defeat in Clara's eyes. The judge split the assets fairly, but thanks to my solid proof, I kept most of what I had worked for. She didn't get to walk away with everything, as she had planned. She thought she could ruin me, but in the end, she only exposed herself. And as I walked out of that courtroom, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. You'd think that after everything, I'd feel complete, satisfied, even. But the truth is, no one walks away from something like this without scars. I moved on, at least, that's what I told myself. Clara's best friend and I started seeing each other. She had been there through the fallout. She had seen how Clara treated me, and unlike my ex-wife, she actually seemed to appreciate me. But deep down, a part of me just couldn't shake the feeling that no matter who I was with, I'd always be waiting for the other shoe to drop. You don't go through betrayal like this and come out the same. I learned that trust isn't just given, it's earned. And once it's broken, it never quite fits back together the way it used to. Could I ever trust someone enough to get married again? Right now, I don't think so. Not because I don't want to, but because I don't know if I'll ever look at love the same way. It's like when you touch a hot stove as a kid. Once you get burned, you flinch every time your hand gets near the heat. And me? I got burned badly. At the end of the day, I realized something important. Sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who betray us the hardest. And when they do, the best revenge isn't anger. It's not trying to get even. It's not wasting energy hating them. No, the best revenge is moving on, living well, becoming someone they can never have again, and making sure they regret losing you every single day. And believe me, Clara regretted it. That's enough for me. So that's my story, guys. A wild one, I know. But that's life, right? You think you know someone. You build a life with them. And one day, they throw it all away like it never mattered. But here's the thing. I didn't let it destroy me. And if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, don't let it destroy you either. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think I handled this the right way? Should I have done something differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And remember, if something feels off in your relationship, it probably is. Don't ignore the signs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.